see here. Looks like we're live again. I'm going to send out an alert to the classes. Sending out an alert right now. We're doing some speed issues. Come on. Let's go over to low internet here. Anyone in the chat yet? Doesn't look like it. Okay. All right, so talk amongst yourselves. Yet, still got to wait for Gmail for that. And I think I'll just send out the alert by Gmail instead of doing both Gmail and my bulletin address when I'm live. Despite all evidence to the contrary, I am live. Pass it, pass. What is you here? Gabriel. Hello there, Gabriel. Good to see you. Just trying to get my email address to load up, Gabriel, so I can send out an alert saying that we are live right now, and then I can just devote my entire attention to the screen. The capture. I'm a little image is coming across a little jerky. I'm doing all right, Gabriel. That's good. I'm doing all right, Gabriel. Sorry for the poor connection with the internet right now. Hold on just a second. It's getting a little warm in here. It's a hot day. I'm going to turn on the air conditioning. Be right back. Okay. Reliable participants in the stream already. We got Gabriel, we got Kenneth. Okay, that's not to put anyone else down, but it's always a comfort when I see Gabriel and Kenneth here. I says, oh, good. We got some people who can make it and can send in a lot of good questions. So take that as a cue to send in some questions on your own. Don't take that as a put down. Hopefully. Okay. Tim says, "Hey, Professor. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing better. It's been a hard week. It was a pretty hard week emotionally. Um, I was bearing up pretty all right, all things considering. All things considering, and say what a lot of people having to go through a lot worse right now. I'm very fortunate. I'm very lucky to have had as little directly happen to me uh, during this pandemic as in comparison to other people. But just being in my apartment for weeks on end, not being not being able to go to work, to see people, to do this kind of things, it started to really take a toll on me. And although this is what we have to do right now, communicating like this remotely and whatnot, preparing lectures remotely, sending them out by email, I don't like it. I really, really don't like it. I love being in a classroom. I love being with students, lecturing, getting face-to-face feedback from students. Um, just even kind of like the little facial cues I get from them, where it seems like something interesting is coming across. Say, I haven't had that for a long time now, and it was really starting to get to me. So I'm doing better. I'm doing better. I'm a little bit more, maybe accepting is not the right word, because I still don't think this is a situation that I should just enjoy. But I am a little bit more kind of like resigned to what is going on, perhaps. Okay. Let me put my glasses on again. Make the channel a little bit better. Okay. Gabriel says, "Can we get extra credit for those who arrive early?" Well, it is still the case. The only extra credit that I will give out for this class is participation points. So, show up on the stream, ask questions and whatnot. That's participation. As much participation as we can get. If you're not able to show up in the stream, and this is in conflict with a lot of people's schedules, work schedules, and so on. If you're not able to show up in the stream, it's not going to necessarily work against you. But try to do things. Send me questions, send me comments about what you've been reading, say what you've been thinking, and so forth. Maybe even just kind of like keep me abreast of how things are going on with you, and that will count as participation points. Kenneth says, "I'm very happy you're feeling better. Thank you. I miss seeing you in person." Thank you, Kenneth. I miss seeing you as well. By the way, how am I coming across right now? I'm a little jerky. I know. Yes, I'm already a jerk, but just I at least have a little bit more fluidity in my appearance, and right now it's kind of like just like a little stops and starts. So am I coming through okay? And also, let me ask, how has everyone else been doing as well? Um, Gabriel says he had also had a tough week with classwork wise. A lot to work on, including my midterm. Yes, it turned out to be a pretty tough midterm. Uh, I was not aware at the time while I was writing it how tough it was until I graded it. So my apologies if it was a tough midterm. Tim says, "I'm glad you're doing better. I can see it being really tough doing everything online. Really appreciate it." Oh, thank you, Tim. And I appreciate, say, everyone doing whatever they can to also keep up as well. And I know it's not easy, and I would say a lot of people are behind a lot of things. What we have to do right now, the instructors, what we have to do is we have to be more flexible than before. And we already had to be flexible anyway, because we are dealing with a situation where a lot of students are working, where a lot of students have families, and all those kinds of things. So it was a good idea to be flexible to begin with. But now we have to take that even into we have to be even more cognizant of what people are dealing with right now. Not only kind of like the emotional strain of quarantine, but also, say, for those who are still have to go out and do a job, it's a lot harder. It did not become easier with with the closing of businesses and whatnot. It became harder. Okay, your live streams keep pushing what's going on. Well, thank you. I think you meant that as a statement and not a question. Um, as a statement, I appreciate it. As a question, I could certainly do better. uh, yeah, and so please let me know how you guys are doing. How's everyone else doing? It's been rough for Gabriel. Say how's everyone else been holding up? But you should know you look younger without a beard. This is, I guess I do. I guess I do. I do not. Might as well tell you, I'm 37 years old. Apparently, I don't look my age without a beard. With my age, I look 37 plus a few more years. Without it, I seem to have gone back a few decades. Did you know that? I have been told this. I have been told that I look younger without a beard, and I shaved the beard off just because I couldn't stand looking at my depressed bearded face in the mirror any longer. So I says I would much rather look at a different depressed face in the mirror. So I shaved my beard off. Tim says he's been all right. My science classes are really tough to keep up with right now. I'd imagine. Um, Say a lot of classes are that were pretty demanding anyway. Probably became a lot tougher. That's a new on me, Gabriel. I've been compared to a lot of people. Never young Liam Neeson before. Interesting fact: Liam Neeson is from the same town in Northern Ireland that my family is from. He's from Ballymoney in County Antrim, and that's where my family is from. That's where my mother's family is from. Both my mother and father are half Irish, which makes me half Irish. But my mother's family came from County Antrim. They came from Ballymoney, and where else in Antrim are they from? Um, but my father's family is from Gordahort in also in Northern Ireland. Um, and my father is half Irish and half on the Irish side from the same town in Northern Ireland that shit. And on the Irish side of my mother, the same town in Northern Ireland that Liam Neeson is from. So probably some people back in the old town. I still have family back there who I talk to on occasion, and I never asked them if they knew Liam Neeson there in the old days. I think I should because they're getting pretty on at me. Who knows how long they'll be with us? Cheers to that. Okay. All right. Well, let's see here. We've got four people in the chat right now. Looks like Kenneth, Gabriel, and Tim have contributed so far. So this is supposed to be the ethics portion of the stream, but of course, Gabriel, if you have any critical thinking questions, please do ask them. Um, for Kenneth and for Tim in my ethics course, does anyone have any questions about the lecture that I sent out the other day? Has anyone had a chance to look at the new lecture, or any questions about, say, Kant lecture, the first Kant lecture last week, and I uploaded an introductory video about Kant. Kant is a tough guy. He's one of the toughest philosophers there is. Does anyone have any Kant questions? Gabriel says, "Have I graded the midterms yet? I'm still in the process of grading the midterm because I'm still trying to grade the second writing assignment. I've got about half of it done for both the my ethics course and for my critical thinking course, but I still have half of the second writing assignment to go, and that's all. Say my slowness is all to do with kind of like the emotional duress that I have been going through. I just couldn't kind of like seem to kind of like commit myself to any kind of like long term activities. I would just kind of like pick something up, and then I would just start to kind of like wander off a bit, and then I would just be at the desk with my face in my hands like this for a long time, and says, okay, push myself away. I'll begin again in a few minutes. But I would come back and it would just go back to the same thing like this again. So it was that kind of working process. But so I'm halfway done with the second writing assignment. I'm gonna still be doing more today. I think I should be done over this weekend. And the midterm, about halfway done grading the midterms as well. I should, because I'm doing both at once. I'm going back and forth between grading the midterms and grading the second writing assignment. So I should have both done this weekend. Okay. All right. So any Kant questions? Any questions about Kant? Any questions about, say, his project in epistemology and how it is going to be relating, not just relating, how it is going to be directly informing his philosophy of ethics? Anyone got any questions about that? Anyone got any questions about Kant? Anyone got any questions about, say, the limits of understanding? Why there is a limit to knowledge according to Kant? Say how he comes to that conclusion. How Kant combines, say, elements from both rationalism and empiricism. Say what the problems that Kant was trying to overcome. Anything like that. Have you graded my midterm specifically? Gabriel, as soon as I grade your midterm, you will get a grade for your midterm. So if you haven't gotten that yet, I have not graded your midterm yet. I should be getting to that very, very soon. And I imagine you did a pretty good job, Gabriel. I wouldn't be too worried. And so any Kant questions? Any questions about Kantian ethics? Has anyone been able to get through the lecture notes or the videos, the video about Kant so far? I'll be uploading a new video today about Kant. Let me try one more time while you guys are getting situated there in the chat. Let me try one more time to send out an alert telling everyone that we got the stream up and running right now. I have not been able to because my computer, my internet seems to be running very slow. I think I plug the cord back in. Okay, let's see if I'm able to get this done. On Gmail. Loading. Okay, very good. All right, so let me send out a little alert. Little alert to everyone, telling everyone that that we are up and running with the chat. I want you know, I could you know, there is, I think, a notification that you can use for this, for letting you know when I'm doing this. Here now, the email list for ethics, and over there. Copy paste. All right, things are running much faster. I've been trying to like conserve power because I didn't have the cord in. Okay. What am I supposed to say? Okay. YouTube live chat. Happening now. Okay, let me send over the link to my channel. YouTube channel Ian Patrick. The alert to everyone. There we go. Okay. Tim says I haven't had a chance to look at the lecture yet, unfortunately. And was that the lecture from last week, Tim, or the lecture that I sent out yesterday? And you know, this is you know, of course, the risk you always run into when you do things remotely is that if everyone goes remote, then everyone has kind of like to readjust, say, their reading schedules, their homework schedules, and so on. And that's not an easy thing to do midway through a semester. We were just you know, just at the point of being midway through it. Okay, I don't have a chance to look at it, unfortunately. Well, you know, I am going to be uploading a new lecture today, a new video lecture. And in this lecture, I'm going to be finally completing the bridge between Kant's epistemology, his philosophy of knowledge, and his philosophy of ethics, his moral philosophy. So if you haven't had a chance to look at it yet, you at least have held out long enough so that we can, get a complete arch of going from the problems that Kant is encountering in, say, what can we know and how can we know it, to the question of what should I do, because there is a very important link between those things. And for Kant, it's say the reason why I'm doing this is because the Rachel is pretty much just kind of like jump right into Kant's philosophy without much of a background for why he's asserting the things that he's asserting. You know, why it is that we have this this very, very seemingly rigid and very unmalleable moral philosophy. It's a philosophy based on rules, based on laws, and you need, yeah, say you can. I'm not saying it's impossible, but you can jump into Kant without a background in the rest of his philosophy. But I don't think it's advisable. I don't think it is advisable to do that because it makes it come off as a weaker and almost kind of like a laughably absurd moral philosophy. The idea that we can find, say, rules and laws that apply to everyone in all situations, in all times. It sounds ludicrous, but if you understand, say, Kant's background, the problem that he's dealing with in knowledge, the problem that he's dealing with in kind of like of asking, say, how do we what are kind of like the preconditions for even thinking of ourselves as agents, as free agents who can do things and do things purposefully and have some meaning attached to our actions. So what do we need as kind of like a background for even thinking these things? And you start to understand why he has the philosophy that he has, why he has the moral philosophy, the rule-based, very rigid and rule-based philosophy that he has. And you also understand that Kant understands that it's not a philosophy that is going to be easy to understand or easy to apply. And it's not really the point as to whether you can always successfully apply it or not. Because the point of the entire philosophy is going to be about not the consequences of your action or even the success of being able to constantly, consistently applying the philosophy. The point will be your intentions, the intentions behind your action. That is going to be the substance of his moral philosophy. Because here's a question that stumbled a lot of people in the ethics midterm. And that was a question on, say, whether there's any place for intentions in the moral philosophy, the ethical philosophy of John Stuart Mill. And a lot of people said, no, it's all just about consequences. And while it is finally all about consequences, Mill still wants to say that intentions are important, that there's still a place for intentions, for having good intentions, for having proper intentions, for having, say, the intention of doing right. He says it's good to have these kind of things because we can get better results if people have better intentions. So he uses a consequentialist argument to defend the importance of good intentions, but there is still a place for good intentions. Kant is going to be different. Kant is going to say we can't even use good consequences to justify good intentions, even if we don't get a happier world from our good intentions. Even if we don't get, say, a world where more people are doing uh, better, more considerate, kinder kinds of things, say that's not the reason why good intentions should be our number one priority in ethics. And the reasons, as you will see in the lectures, is because Kant is going to be dividing a difference between, say, a conditional good and an unconditional good. And a conditional good will always be, say, a matter, say, of what we can know. What will the consequences be? What will it be in the long term? These things are always going to be beyond our understanding. We can't know the future. We can't have any kind of real certain knowledge about, say, what effects our actions have. But we do have another option. We do have another option, an option that is not based on anything that has to do with what comes out of our actions, but everything that goes into our actions. Say, how am I approaching this problem? Those kind of things we do have control over, according to Kant. And we can find a basis for finding the right intentions, an unconditionally good basis for our actions in reason, in the laws of reason. Okay. Oh, am I still frozen right now, Kenneth? Kenneth is alerting me to the fact that I've been frozen for 10 minutes. He's asking what's going on. If I've been frozen for 10 minutes, it's a connection issue. What about everyone else? Everyone else doing okay? Am I live now? According to YouTube, I have been live. Have I been frozen forever for anyone else? Okay, Tim says that I'm fine on his end. Okay, yeah, it may have been a connection issue for your on your side, Kenneth. Say Tim says that everything's running smoothly, and I have not seen the alert saying that I've been frozen for a while. Okay, Alex says all good, and welcome to this. Welcome to the live chat, Alex. How have you been? I hope you've been well. I have myself a little drink of wine. But my point is that this requires a very, very kind of like extensive background in Kant because he's a very, I was going to say he's a very systematic thinker, kind of, sort of, but he's certainly a very complex thinker, a very, very complex thinker. And the more that you have kind of like a background in all the complex components of his philosophy, the more it will make sense, and the harder it will be to just dismiss his philosophy. I'm not saying that you have to finally accept his philosophy, because there's still problems with it. There are still a lot of problems with Kant's philosophy, but it's certainly harder to just dismiss it if you have a better understanding of it. Alex says that she's very good, but she's very bored. Ah, boredom. Boredom is a serious thing. Myself, I at least have got this going for me. I got one thing and one thing only going for me. I can get sad, I can get depressed, I can get disinterested and distant. I can feel very withdrawn. I can feel very, very uninspired, lethargic, unenergetic, say, just impossible for me to do something. I can feel those things. I don't ever feel boredom. I am never ever bored unless I'm caught in a situation where I have to pay attention to something that I have absolutely no interest in. Those are the only times where I'm bored. Else, I've just got too many projects. I've got too many projects. Many of them I don't think I'll ever live to see the completion of. But I just got so many things to keep my attention, and I think that is, say, what everyone needs right now is, say, some project, something they can just kind of like tinker with, not something they can just kind of like complete in a day, but something that is going to be kind of like a long-term kind of thing. Unfortunately, if you have been going through some of the feelings that I just mentioned, of disengagement, of apathy, and so on, it's harder and harder to do those kind of things. And so, it's harder to get yourself out of that kind of like cycle of boredom and and out of even kind of like that cycle of lethargy, if you can even kind of like muster the energy and the interest needed to get into a project. So don't mean to boast. I don't mean to toot my own horn about how well I am handling the situation, because I'm struggling certainly with a lot of things. But one thing I have not had to deal with, and that's boredom, unless I am stuck doing something that I have absolutely no interest in doing. That's it. And I have been stuck doing some things like that, but apart from that, say never having to deal with kind of like the time, say in my apartment, as kind of like a period of uninterest and boredom. It's been one of frustration, certainly. It's been one of discouragement. It's been one of loneliness and isolation, but not boredom. So that's just for me, certainly. I certainly am not trying to kind of like put you down for being bored. I'm just saying that this is your cross to bear. I have a different cross to bear. Okay, so anyone else? Say we got 8 people in the chat right now. Who hasn't said hello yet? So we have a hello from Kenneth, got a hello from Gabriel, got a hello from Tim, got a hello from Alex. Who else do we have here? Oh, someone just disappeared. Maybe someone did not want to say hello. So someone just wave at me. I can ask how you're doing. By the way, a solemn and respectful Ramadan to all of my Muslim students and friends. Hope you're all doing well. This is certainly a very difficult time for a lot of us who to to want to kind of like commit to and participate in, say, the important holidays of the calendar. All right, we got Andrew. Andrew says hello, hello, Andrew, and we got Kevin. Kevin says hello. How are you guys doing? Have you guys been holding up? I hope everyone's. I hope you guys been doing all right. In case you didn't hear me earlier, I was going through a pretty rough week. Wasn't able to get a lot of work done, so I'm behind a lot of things. Still trying to get the second assignment graded and the midterms graded for a lot of people. A lot of people got the grades in, but I think for half of my class, both my ethics class and my critical thinking class, I still have half of the second writing assignment left to grade and half of the midterms left to grade. So I want to get that done as soon as I can. It's just been pretty hard to do that sometimes when you're feeling blue and listless. Okay, so everyone's doing all right. I know we're going through a tough time right now. Wish I had more people in the chat to kind of like tell people this, but it looks like, and I have not gotten any kind of official word yet from the dean or the president of the school, unless I missed that email. But I hold on just a second. I forgot my microphone. I'll be right back. I forgot to plug in my microphone. I'm sorry about that. Let me go get my microphone. Oh boy. Sorry guys, I completely forgot my completely forgot to plug in the microphone. Sorry about that. Here's my little robot thing. Ooh. Okay, cute little guy. There we go. Hopefully that's an improvement. I do not look forward to going back and listening to how things were at the start of this video for the first 35 minutes of the video. I do not look forward to say hearing just how low the volume was or how unintelligible my voice was. So I apologize for not having this at the ready as I should have. Okay. All right. So please let me know how you're doing. Oh, and here's what I was about to say. that it does look like that we will be doing remote classes for the fall semester. Is how things are looking right now. Like I said, unless I missed the email, I have not gotten an alert about that yet from the dean of my of the social sciences, my immediate boss, and I have not gotten it from the president of the college yet. And of course, unless I missed out on the email. Okay, so but I recently got an email from the head of my department, and he said that it does look like that we are going to be doing remote education for the fall semester. This was something that Cal State Fullerton had already decided to do, and we pretty much follow Cal State Fullerton's lead on a lot of things. So I know some students who was going to be going into Cal State Fullerton, say in the fall semester, and are very disappointed that it's going to be done remotely. Okay, so it's a shame, but it's we don't want people to get sick. We don't want people to die. So it's something that we should do. Okay, Tim's got a question. So you mentioned how Kant believes knowledge is limited. After looking over the notes you sent, it seems like this is because he believes people cannot know something absent their understanding of it. Well, that's the thing that you can't. Well, according to Kant, and it makes sense in a way, you can't step outside of your own mind. That's to say that you can't step out of the way in which your mind is already taking in information and processing it in a certain way for you to understand things, for you to make judgments about things. The limitations of knowledge for Kant. It's not like saying that Kant is not saying something like that we can't form a new understanding about the world, you know, like in the history of science. In the history of science, we're constantly coming to a new and more complex advancement over our previous understanding of things. We thought that Newtonian physics was going to be able to kind of like explain everything that went on in the universe. Everything could be reduced down to say to the way things Newton outlined them in the Principia Mathematica. We find out that's not the case. We find out there are some problems that cannot be solved strictly with Newtonian mechanics. So we've got to advance upon that. We've got to have a new understanding about the world. Kant is not saying that we can't do those kinds of things. Kant is not saying that we can't form a better, more more satisfying understanding of the natural world or anything like that, or even of ourselves. That we cannot advance, say, in kind of like a new ways in psychology, a new understanding of the self, a new understanding of the soul, and all those kind of things. But what Kant is saying is that, however, we come to a new and better understanding of the phenomenal world, the world of, say, the information that's coming in through the senses, the world that is coming in through my sentiments, the world that is coming in through just the way in which I process information about these things. These are things that, according to Kant, are going to remain a constant, and I cannot get out of them. That, however, I change my thinking about things, it's because there have already been preconditions for me to even kind of like be able to change my mind about things. So even if I come to a new and better understanding of the physical world, it is still the physical world as my mind is able to understand it. Even if I come to a new and better understanding of myself, of my inner world, it is still a world that my mind is allowing me to understand. It is still a world that is being framed through my through what is already there as kind of like the mechanics of the mind. All the pieces, all the cogs, whatever is there to make thinking possible. I, those things are there already, and I can't think outside of them. So the upshot is say the world might be different from how I'm able to understand it. Even if I come to a better understanding, that still doesn't mean that I will have kind of like a one-to-one correspondence between, say, how I understand the world and the way the world is, independent of how I'm looking at it, independent on how I'm experiencing it, independent on how I'm understanding of it, and independent of how I'm making judgments about it. So this is where the limitation comes in, according to Kant. The limitation comes in just in the sense that all pretty much the best that we can work with is just how I, as a human being, with these sorts of things set up already as part of my mind, how I am able to understand things. What are the conditions for me to be able to have an experience and to make judgments, to come up with ideas based on those experiences? That's as far as we can go, according to Kant. And that say, he called his project a transcendental project. And transcendental means, in this sense, say something that is immanent. That means something that is underlying and say that is working through, say, other processes. Say the processes of my understanding and of my judgment and of my experience, my perceptions and so forth, these have conditions that are allowing them to be what they are and to do what they do. So that's why it's a transcendental philosophy. We're talking about, say, what has to be there already working through all of these processes. And he sometimes is called a transcendental idealist because it is, say, conditions about the mind, conditions by which the mind, it has an active role in forming the way we look at things, forming the way we think about things. That the world isn't coming in to me unfiltered. The world is coming into me as information that my mind is changing in order to make it something that can be thought about, in order to make it something that I can understand. So idealism, they say philosophical idealism, is generally this thesis that the mind has some kind of active role in making things what they are in our understanding of them. And so his idealism is not to say that everything is just mind. It's just to say we're always coming back to the mind. We're always coming back to say what is already there in order for us to think, in order for us to have the kinds of understandings that we do about the world. Why we seem to have a very consistent underlying understanding about the world. Why we always seem to have, say, different kinds of perspectives and points of view about things. We see, things differently from this angle, things differently from that angle, but we can still understand them as being relative angles. We still understand them as being relative points of view. How is it, say, if my mind is so different from your mind, that we can have any kind of communication at all on any point whatsoever? Kant's answer to this is because there is some kind of fundamental structure to the mind, some fundamental machinery, transcendental conditions that allows thought to happen and allows understanding to happen. And if it's true for my mind, if this is how reason is going to work out, then it's going to be true for yours as well. And so that all minds, all human minds will operate under a shared circumstance. The circumstance being what has to be there to begin with in order for understanding to happen. And so with this in place, we're able to then find at least a shared world between everyone. Everyone has a way of having a kind of like a shared understanding of what's going on through the fundamentals that are at work in everyone's experiences. If everyone has an experience and is able to make judgments and have ideas, it is because they have the same universal conditions, conditions for reason, operating in their mind as well as in my mind. According to Kant, This is how he's going to save objectivity, not only for knowledge, but also for ethics, also for morality. Because you remember in David Hume, Hume was a ethical subjectivist. Everything just comes back down to say how you're feeling about something. Because according to Hume, all of our ideas first come from some kind of impression. You can think about them in the same way as kind of like a sensation. And that's not just the sensations that we get through the eye, through the nose, through the mouth, through the ears, and so forth. It's also the sensation of our feelings. It's a sensation of the passions. And so all of our ideas are based on our senses and our passions. And so our ethical ideas, our ideas about, say, what has value, comes back down to just what we feel passionate about, say, whether we like something or dislike something, according to David Hume. And so it just becomes entirely subjective, entirely up to you what is right and what is wrong, because it's all coming back down to just your own feelings about something. Kant is not denying that we have passions. Kant is not denying that we have feelings, but he is going to say, no, Hume, you are wrong. We do have, say, something fundamental about us that would be shared by everyone, and that is going to be the conditions for reason and for action. I just talked about, say, the conditions for reason. That's called pure reason, according to Kant. The conditions for action are going to be similar to that. Insofar as we understand ourselves as being active, acting participants in the world, we're going to have fundamental conditions going on, not unlike the fundamental conditions that we need in order to think something. And so this is something that is going to be true for everyone, no matter what your own passions are, no matter what your feelings are. You're also going to have this fundamental precondition for being an active person as a part of you. It's going to be true for you and for everyone. And so this is where we're going to find our basis for moral philosophy, says Kant. So Kenneth has a question. Was Kant a divine command theory philosopher? No, he was not. He was not a divine command theory philosopher. If you think that, say, all you need is the word of God to tell you whether something is right or wrong, that's not going to be Kant. Kant is actually going to be closer to a natural law theorist, but not quite. It's just to say, just like the natural law theorist is going to say that all of our truths of morality can be based upon, say, truths of reason, Kant is going to say the same thing. But he is not going to say that we know these things had to been laid down by God. Because God is going to be something that may be true, maybe not be true. We can't know, says Kant, whether there is or is not a God. It is strictly a matter of faith. And that's true for an atheist as well. An atheist position would be just as much a matter of faith as a theist's position. A person believes in God and a person doesn't believe in God would just be both a matter of faith, according to Kant. Now, Kant is actually going to say that we actually have better reasons, more justifiable reasons for believing in God, thanks to, say, our conditions underlying our actions, say what we need to in order to think of ourselves as participants in the world, practical reasons. But he is not going to say that we can know that there is a God with certainty. And he is not going to say that because there is a God that we can derive these truths of reason for ethics or for morality. He's just going to say that a God kind of like a belief in God can kind of sort of like better guarantee the consistency and the motivation for your actions. But say it's all going to come down finally to how you are going to figure things out. Kant had a very religious background. He came from a Protestant sect called the Pietists, and the Pietists had an emphasis placed on, say, personal understanding. Like, you read the Bible, you come to your own conclusions. Kant is going to want you to do something similar with your own understanding of reason, of the truths of reason, of the structure of reason, of the demands, obligations, and duties that are put upon you as a reasoning and active person, as a free person. You have duties and obligations put upon you by reason. And you have to understand, say, what those duties and obligations are and how to fulfill them. It's you filling in the gaps. So he's kind of like removed from both divine command theory and from natural law theory. That natural law theory, God is still what is underlying all these truths of reason. Kant is going to say that I can't say with any kind of certainty whether God is underlying the truths of reason or not. But I do know that, say, if we understand reason, we can understand, say, we might have justifiable beliefs in God as something that could kind of like guarantee things turning out all right in the end, of justice and so forth, of purpose in our actions and motivations. But it still has to come from reason first, and it's still you figuring it out of what it is and how it is supposed to work out in your actions. Oh, Tim says that's very interesting. Thanks for breaking it down for me. You're very welcome, Tim. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here to do. Yeah. So uh, Kant is going to say, it's entirely up to you whether you believe in God or not. He is a product of the Enlightenment. As a matter of fact, he wrote a very famous essay called "What is Enlightenment?" And it touches on, say, a lot of what I talk about. It touches on, say, a lot of having the freedom to arrive at your own conclusions. It's a kind of faith in yourself. It's a kind of, at least, a sort of like a defense, not so much a faith, but it's a defense of, say, of why a person should be allowed to come to their own conclusions, to be able to form their own conclusions about things. Say the enlightenment, or say what the enlightenment is, according to Kant, is the ability to turn one's focus in on oneself and discover truth through one's own reason, through one's own thinking processes. So if we are able to turn inward, we should be able to, say, figure things out on our own without having to have dogma tell us what is true and what is not true, and without having to have authority to tell us what is and what is not true, because the final authority would be reason, not you. It wouldn't be you as the authority. It would be you insofar as that you were able to come up with a correct conclusion based off of something that is fundamentally true and consistently true with everyone's thinking. That everyone has the same basic thinking, fundamentals, structure, imminent conditions, and so forth. And so whatever can be derived from that is something that we can all figure out on our own, and we can all come to the conclusions of that on our own. So authority sort of like disappears from being an external force telling us what to do, what to think, what is and what is not true. It becomes now more of an internal process by which we are able to figure things out on our own, because the standard by which we can discover the truth would be shared by everyone. Everyone would have the same kind of same kind of like standard by which they can access and arrive at, say, the right sort of conclusions as best they can. Kant is still not going to say that everyone is just going to come out with the right ideas or the right conclusions. We are limited creatures. We have limited capacities. We can't ever step outside our own minds to find out, say, whether this is actually going to correspond with the world as it truly actually is, independent from how I'm looking at it and understand it. But we still have these capacities that make it possible for us to arrive at these sorts of things without having to have, say, an authority dictate them to us. So it's going to it's so his political philosophy is going to be very much tied in with his moral philosophy as well. Okay, so lot of facets to Kant. He's an endlessly fascinating philosopher for me. Okay, so any other questions? Now the video I'm going to upload today, as I said, will be a video that will be bridging the gap between Kant's philosophy of knowledge and his moral philosophy. Say why it is in the fundamental conditions of reason, say both in pure reason and practical reason, that we're going to be able to find, say, not only that we have a duty to fulfill, that we have obligations to fulfill because we are free, because of our freedom, but also how we're able to find out, say, how can we fulfill those obligations? How it is that we can actually do our duty according to Kant. Doing our duty is what is kind of like the primary thing about his philosophy. You know, if you have the right intentions, that means you're doing your duty. You're live on my phone only. Okay, so you're only able to watch me on the phone, Kenneth. Yeah, we just got to do the very best that we can. Very best that we can with the tools that we have. I'm working on a laptop in front of me. That's my computer. Um, it's a fine machine. It belonged to my grandmother, and it's still got a lot of life left in it. But you know, it itself has its limitations. You know, I can't upload too many things to it, and I have a tendency to upload a lot of stuff to it. Just grab a lot of music. I am an audiophile. I have a lot. I think I have more um, MP3s and FLAC files on here, music files on here than I have anything else on this computer. I say again, one of the ways in which I'm never bored. I have an ongoing obsession with building a musical library, and you know, it's a matter of kind of like balancing what are the essentials, what are the things I can have, and what are things where, you know, if I were to get everything, it would just crash my poor little system down. So it's a constant balancing act. Okay, so we are nearing the point where we would transition over to more questions regarding um, critical thinking. But does anyone have any more questions for me about, say, about Kant or about anything else in ethics or about the midterm? Any questions about the midterm that I'm still grading? Hopefully, a number of you have gotten your grades back yet. I'm still working on it. Let's see here. Alex, Andrew, Kevin, Tim, Kenneth, Gabriel, you guys have any questions for me about anything at all? Anything whatsoever? And if you just want to, you know, just to chat about various things, I can totally do that. Will you input the grades in the Canvas? I've tried doing that several times, Alex. I've kind of given up on it. I need someone to help me with that. So I need to get instructions on how to do that, because I keep trying to do that. I say, oh, say this is supposed to be kind of like, you know, divided up by the point system. I've not been able to figure it out. You know, they try to make, say, Canvas kind of like user friendly and somewhat intuitive. It's not that for me. It's not that for me at all. So I need to get help on that. But anytime that you want to know what your grade is, just let me know and I will calculate it based on the grades that I have thus far for you, and how much we're expected to do for class, and I'll let you know. Looks like what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be doing pass fail, or pass not pass for everyone. I still am not entirely clear on that, but that's kind of like what the sense that I got the last time I was in a faculty senate meeting. Can I know my grade? All right. Let's see here. Can you know your grade? Well, I'm not going to tell you your grade over the chat, Gabriel, but I will quickly look at what I have here for you. Okay. Well, let me ask you this, Gabriel. Would you want your grade now, or would you want your grade after I do your writing assignment and your midterm? Because I can quickly send over to you what it is right now based on the grades that I have, and I could do that, say, minus the midterm and second writing assignment. But if you would like me to do that after I grade the second writing assignment and your midterm, and give you what your grade in the class is after I have those punched in, I can certainly do that as well. So let me know what you would like. Say the grade as it is right now based on the information I have, taking out those two things, or including those two things. What is your current grade in the class? Okay. Can you do both ways? Give me one of them. Give me one or the other, Gabriel. Okay. Give me one or the other. Okay. Oh, thank you, Kenneth. Kenneth says that say the class is keeping his mind occupied. That's good, Kenneth. I'm glad. I hope it's being of some help to some people too. Include the writing assignments and the midterm. Okay, very good. I shall have that done very soon, Gabriel. Once I get, say, both the writing assignment and midterm grade into you, I will also give you the overall grade for the class. And it's looking good. It's looking good, Gabriel. That's all I'll say right now regarding your grade. Okay, so it's looking good. Very, and that's the case for most of the people in both of my classes, both in critical thinking and in ethics. People are doing a pretty good job sending me stuff to grade, and that's really what you got to do is just make sure I get the stuff. If you can't get it in on time, let me know, and we'll work something out. We especially have to be considerate of that right now. Okay. All right. So anything else? And just to kind of like keep the time flowing, we don't have to talk about, say, ethics or critical thinking. Professor, can I still turn in quiz 3 and or assignment 3? Well, we've dropped assignment 3. We're not doing assignment 3. And oh, hello there, Brandon Mendoza. We're not doing assignment 3. We dropped that. I gave everyone the grade for that. Everyone has the 10 points for assignment 3 added to their grade already. And I'm dropping assignment 4, say both for the ethics class and for the critical thinking class. We're not going to have an assignment 4, but I am taking the points that would have gone for the assignment 4 grade and adding that on project. Excuse me, adding that onto the report project. So for the ethics class, it's going to be added on to the philosopher of ethics report I need handed in to me at the end of the semester. And for the critical thinking class, the 10 points is going to be added on to the group project you should still be working on, and hopefully you're still in contact with all your participants. Okay. But can you still turn in the grade for quiz 3? Can you still turn in the third quiz for a grade? Yes, Brandon. Yes, you can. Thank you for asking, Brandon. Yes, you may still turn in quiz 3 for a grade. All right. Thank you for asking that, Brandon, and welcome to the chat. Okay. All right. So, any other questions? Okay. Let's see. Thank you. Yeah. So you're doing all right, Brendan. Yes, you can turn in, say, quiz 3 for a grade, and you don't have to worry about the third writing assignment. But you still have to worry about those 10 points that would have gone onto the fourth writing assignment that I've now been added onto the group project. for you because you're in my critical thinking course. Okay. All right. So, any other questions? Well, like I said, it doesn't have to be about ethics or critical thinking, but that's what I'm here to do, to get engaged in discussions about ethics and critical thinking, about say what we're doing in critical thinking right now, which are we're covering many types of fallacies, and in ethics we're really getting into Kant's moral philosophy, his philosophy of ethics. So anyone have any questions about that? But if anyone just kind of like wants to ask people how they're doing, what they're doing, how they're coping under quarantine and so forth, questions about, say, the coming semester or anything like that, I'll do the very best I can to answer them. Okay. So anyone have anything else? All right. All right, Alex says, I just want to say that I really appreciate how open the essay questions were for both midterm. Oh, thank you, Alex. I was hoping they would be stimulating, and I'm glad. And I wanted them to be kind of like broad enough where I figured to say everyone should be able to find, say, something in their past or say something in their own interest to respond to. You know, everyone ideally it should be they should be questions that everyone should be able to answer in one way, shape, or form. So thank you. I'm glad I was able to hit that mark for that midterm. Hopefully, I'll do the same for the final exam. We'll see. Okay. Am I teaching in class for the summer session? No, I am not. As a matter of fact, I am going to be unemployed during the summer. I've got 3 classes that I'm going to be teaching in the fall, but right now for the summer, I have no work. And Lord knows what I will be doing. Um, I'm hoping to maybe get a retail position, but say with the economy going as it is, it'll be some trick to find say something that is still taking applications for that. Okay. I was hoping to get a credential for teaching online courses this semester. I was scheduled to do that before all of this happened. Now I'm teaching courses without that credential online. So I wonder if I'm still going to be able to get that. Because if I do get that, that's going to be easier for me to get jobs. As the situation right now is tough for everyone, particularly for bottom-feeding scum like myself and my fellow adjunct professors. Okay. All right. Anyone got any other questions for me as I enjoy this one? Okay. Did anyone in the critical thinking course see the new lecture that I sent out yesterday? I sent out, it includes the fallacies that I did not cover in last week's video, but will cover in the video that I will be doing after the stream is finished. And it will also include some new ones. And I think I was able to find some fallacies that I have not taught before, but I think are excellent fallacies and very, very relevant for what is happening right now. All the fallacies that I put there are relevant, but I think I was able to find some good kind of like current event applications for them in the examples. The last one, the Nirvana fallacy, I think is especially important for people kind of like thinking about say who they will be voting for in the upcoming presidential election and as well the congressional election, and that they need to vote. Say, you know, I want this to be as strongly a participating democracy as it can be. You know, democracies die through lack of participation, and you know, the people who don't vote have no one to blame but themselves if things go in a very bad direction due to a lack of people voting. So I think I've put up some a very good fallacy to hopefully encourage you to vote, because the fallacy is this: it doesn't say your candidate doesn't have to be perfect, but they at least have to be better. I've got a good I think a good fallacy to demonstrate say why perfection is kind of impractical in a lot of situations when it comes to say of how we can, what we should be doing, how we should actually be working to improve things, to making things better. Because we do not need to achieve paradise here on Earth in order for what we do to make a difference. Better is still better, even if it is not ideal. Okay, so take a look at that if you haven't already. And I will be having, say, lectures, a video lecture, I'll say where I cover that and other things. I'm sorry for being kind of like coy of what I'm talking about here, but I was kind of pissed off when Bernie dropped out of the presidential race, and I'm seeing stuff posted all over the internet about saying, "Oh, there's no hope left for America now that Bernie's out of the race. Oh, I'm not even going to vote now that I can't vote for Bernie." No, no, even Bernie Sanders wouldn't want you to do that. No, Bernie. Here's a problem with Bernie Sanders, and it is not so much Bernie's fault, although I think he should have addressed this more, and that's that uh, a lot of people look to Bernie as being kind of like the answer to everything. Well, here's the thing, folks. Even if Bernie was elected president, that would not instantaneously or even inevitably solve all of our problems. As a matter of fact, we would now have a new problem, making sure that Bernie stays, consistent to his promises, because that doesn't always happen. And it might not even happen with if Bernie was elected. Of course, we won't know because he's not going to be elected president. But the thing is, to say even if we don't have Bernie running, we still might have options that would make things better rather than worse. And I don't know why you would want things to get worse, unless I'm straw manning you. Hopefully, I'm not doing that. But there are people out there who says better things get worse than things getting better, because if things get worse, then we might be more woke to what we really need to be doing. Here's the thing, folks. Things can just always get worse. There is no necessity in things having to get better. Things do not necessarily have to get better. Things don't necessarily have to get worse either. But it does have to depend on, say, what you are going to be doing about that. Will you allow things to just keep sliding? Or will you try to kind of like hold it back as best you can? Gabriel says, I'm going for the only option for the election, Biden. And that's the thing, folks, that, if you, it's unfortunate, I think, if you are a conservative or if you're a Republican, it's unfortunate that the only kind of like viable alternative right now appears to be Trump. Many people who could be, say, strong Republican candidates right now are pretty upset about this, and they have every right to be upset about this. That Trump has pretty much kind of like made it that it has to be him or nothing when it comes to the party or conservatism in America. And I don't think I need to be coy about it. Say I'm not a conservative, but conservatives are not going to go away. And conservatives have a right to participate in this democracy as much as anyone, including left-leaning people like myself. And I would prefer it if conservatives had more of a selection, more people to choose from than just, that you're forced to have just the incumbent. Even before kind of like any kind of like primaries where they actually are able to decide, say, whether we can get enough support for that. They decide not to even have many of the primaries for Trump. Many of the primaries say that could possibly oppose Trump. I think that is just horrible. It's a horrible thing to do for a real strong demographic of the voting population of our country. I think that is abuse against, say, voters who might want to find something else. Because there are plenty of people, plenty of Republicans, plenty of conservatives who would love to have an option to Donald J. Trump right now. Now, for Bernie at least was given a chance. Bernie was given a chance. Warren was given a chance. All these people were given a chance. Pete Buttigieg was given a chance. And how about having an openly gay man do as well as he did, running up until just the last month or so? I think that's fantastic. I think that's fantastic for America, and also just how good of a chance a Jewish man, just how good of a chance Bernie Sanders had, or Elizabeth Warren. This is, I think, a very, very good time for our democracy when it comes to, say, the inclusivity of strong candidates. Now, of course, what we have left is still kind of like a straight cisgender white man, old white man, but he's Catholic. We haven't had a Catholic for a while, so that's still something. But yeah, so Biden is the viable option right now for the Democrats, but we'll see how things work out. We might, who knows, we might have an upset when we get to the nomination, the actual nomination by the party. We'll see. We'll see. But right now, all signs point to Biden. All signs point to Biden getting it, but at least everyone else had a chance, which is more that could be said for the Republican Party. The Republican Party has not had a chance to put up anyone else apart from Donald Trump, and that's largely thanks to Donald Trump strong arming, say, the primaries in some key areas for the Republicans. So that's unfortunate. That's very, very, very unfortunate. Because, like I said, folks, if Bernie's elected president, the conservatives are not going to go away. They are not, say, that faction is not going to disappear. It's not going to disappear if Biden's elected either, but they may find it more difficult to maintain a position against him than against a socialist like Bernie Sanders. Who am I going to vote for? I might as well tell you. If it comes to Biden, I'll vote for Biden. I'll be voting for Biden for president. Now, that is not to influence any of you by the fact that that I'm a professor and whatnot, and that that I will be voting for someone. You could vote for Donald Trump. You could still vote for Donald Trump and get an A in my class. So let me guarantee you that. Say, I do not grade on politics. I do not grade on what your political positions are. The only thing that I would ask you to do is, if you're a fascist, please, please, please talk to me and reconsider or get out of my class. I don't have any patience for fascism. I don't have any patience for totalitarianism in general. If you are like a hardcore Stalinist communist, we need to talk. We need to have a serious conversation. Because you're not necessarily on the side of the angels just by being against Hitler. Good for you for standing against Hitler, but there are things about yourself you need to stand against as well. I see pictures, people posting pictures of Lenin and Stalin appreciatively. They were monsters. They were monsters. I don't know why we can excuse the mass murders that occurred under Lenin and Stalin any more than we can over what happened in Nazi Germany. Say, Nazi Germany had say, a racist component to it, which made it, of course, seem uglier. But that's still people dying. That's still people being killed, being eliminated in the Soviet Union because they were regarded as an impediment to the state. So it is still state-mandated murder in both instances. Oh, thank you, Tim. Would you elaborate, Tim? What do you completely agree with? I'd be very interested, because I just rambled on a good deal right there about a lot of things. So what was it that you agreed with particularly? And I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Tim. Yeah, so I'll be voting for Biden. Say doesn't and it doesn't matter to me who you vote for, as long as you vote. Get out there and vote. Make this a strong democracy. That requires people getting out there and voting. Oh, by the way, Bernie supporters, even if you were able to get your candidate, it's not likely that you would have voted for him anyway, because you people don't vote. Pisses me off. Some people are saying that Trump comes close to how Stalin Hitler was. Not really. This is the good news. The good news is that Trump is still very, very, very far away from being a Stalin or Hitler. That still does not mean that might not be. It still does not mean that he is the best thing that we need right now, particularly if we want to stay a strong, healthy, participatory democracy. But say Trump is still doing some very bad things. Even if here's a little bit of a logical fallacy for you. Here's how a lot of people are excusing, say, the people being kept at the borders. The kids being kept in cages and whatnot. They're saying, well, Obama didn't. You didn't have any problems about that. Well, here's the thing. If we didn't have any problems about it while it was happening under Obama, we were wrong. We should have been more upset about it. We should have been more active in our push to get those kids out of the cages. If that was happening under Obama, it was wrong. If it's happening under Trump, it's still wrong, and something should be done about it. See, that's called an ad hominem tu quoque. So we didn't actually go over that in critical thinking, but it's still kind of like a form of ad hominem that this person's view is illegitimate because of who they are. If they are a person who did not already criticize this person, that means they are automatically wrong. Well, just because I'm doing something wrong that someone else did, that doesn't make me any more right, and it doesn't make what I do excusable. You heard the same thing, say, when people were trying to impotently defend Trump, kind of like admitting that he committed an impeachable offense by blackmailing Ukraine, when they were saying things like, "Well, presidents do this all the time." Well, if they do it, they should be impeached. Here's what they were kind of like always saying regarding the Democrats, and you can understand why, because you got to say something. But they were always saying, this is entirely for political reasons. But the thing is that if we do have a constitutional case against the president, doesn't matter whether we can actually succeed in pushing it through, it has to be carried through. We have to prosecute the case as best we can. It's your duty when you were sworn into Congress. You were sworn in as an upholder of the Constitution. That means that you have to apply the rules of the Constitution when the Constitution is being violated. And if you believe that you found good evidence to support, let's say, the Constitution has been violated, you push that through. Doesn't matter whether other people have gotten away with it. Doesn't matter, say, whether, say, the Senate might be stacked against you. If you can do that as a member of the House of Representatives, you should do that. Okay. Thank you, Tim. Yeah, people shouldn't idolize Stalin just because it was against Hitler. Let us not forget that up until 1940, that Stalin and Hitler had a non-aggression treaty with each other. They're probably going to slit each other's throat eventually, but Stalin and Hitler swore to do nothing against each other, at least for the time being. And it was only because Hitler decided to invade the Soviet Union that the treaty was dissolved, and Russia came in and eventually curb stomped Germany, all the way to Berlin. But not until, say, a great price was paid for it. So idolize the brave Soviet soldier who fought against, say, the Nazis at Stalingrad. Don't idolize Stalin. So freaking hard for the Russians to even begin to go on the offensive is because Stalin pretty much killed off the best generals the army had for a while. During the army purges in the 30s, say, the Soviet Union was without, say, experienced and able military leadership for a long time, because if you were a popular soldier, you were a potential threat to Stalin, and so he had to get rid of you. So, Stalin is not something to be idolized. But say, I simply do not get it. I simply cannot understand. I can sort of get it, but it's still put aside because this person at least seems to kind of like stand for the ideology that you like. If you like the idea of communism, if you like the idea of socialism, good for you. That's fine. They're viable options, but not the way it was implemented by Lenin, by Stalin, by Brezhnev, or any of those people. No. And I'm not saying that that you should be idolizing the leaders of liberal nations. Absolutely not. You can have admiration for a lot of people if they are not the perpetrators of great massive harm, but Idolizing? No, no, don't idolize anyone. Since we're coming, since I'm coming clean here about a lot of things, I might as well tell you I'm a Catholic, so I don't believe in the idolizing of anyone that is not, directly related to the kingdom of heaven. Directly, unless say I'm not gonna set up false idols before God and Christ. No, absolutely not. Because it is kind of like an option that if you don't say it certainly was the option for Lenin that that he regarded say the works of Marx and Engels as holy writ. Say don't question it. Take it as a matter of faith that this is the world that we can make happen based on say these fundamental laws of history, politics, and economy. Believe, and we will achieve this world. It doesn't matter who we have to gun down in order to get it. See, that's you know, zealotry can be dangerous if we're talking about, say, zealotry for a political cause, a political ideology, or even a religious ideology. When you have that kind of blind assuredness that you must be correct. It's kind of like assuming for yourself the role of God, and I think that's a very unwise thing to do. It's one of the things I really appreciate in Kant is kind of like that we are kind of like more forced to face our limitations. That we can still do a lot, we can still achieve a lot, but we have to recognize the fact that we have certain limited capacities. Maybe Kant is right, and we can never really kind of like have a one-to-one sort of like correlative idea between say how I think the world is and the way the world actually is. I can create maybe better, more comprehensive, more workable, usable, reliable ideas as I apply them into action. But there still could be a remainder. Still could be, say, something left over from my picture of things. And that still would be a truth about the world that I have not been able to incorporate in my own understanding. And that should be true too for when it comes to kind of like the ideas to say of what other people should be doing. You know, we come up with ideas, we come up with plans, we come up with policies and whatnot. When we enforce them, say that means that say there's a likelihood it's going to be people who disagree with them. So we should at least have, I think, a kind of chance for other people to come up with better ideas and kind of like win other people over by persuasion rather than by force. Yes, that's how I look at things. Hmm. So any of you people idolize Stalin or Hitler? I often hear something like this. I hear, well, at least they got things done. Would that they had done less? It's that kind of like admiration for people who have the charisma, the will, the drive to make things happen. That's good as long as say what they're making happen isn't something that's horrendous and evil. Uh, I would much prefer say that they were far less successful in getting things done. Say getting things done is in itself say not that glowing of a virtue. I think it's a matter of it's more to what is actually coming out of it. Is it say something that maybe in Kantian terms, say was it an action that is kind of like in accordance with the goodwill and in accordance with trying to do something that would be honoring everyone's freedom or not? Because that's something we're going to be coming to in Kant. The big thing is for Kant, what is going to like divide up between, say, a good or bad action is whether it is going to be an action that will be respecting the rationality, the freedom, the intrinsic worth and value in everyone or not. This was something that a lot of people slipped up on when it came to the quiz on the utilitarians. is I had that question at the end there. So, why does Mill want to protect the minority against the majority? A lot of people answered because the minority has inherent value, some kind of like inherent, quality to them that makes them say, worthwhile in and of themselves. That's not how the utilitarians see things. Utilitarians see things in terms of their usefulness. You can't make something that has an inherent value into, say, something that is just useful for you. That's turning to say something that can't be just a tool into a tool. This is the difference between Kant and utilitarians. Kant would say people's rights should be respected because of the inherent self-worth and value of everyone. The utilitarians are going to say it should be protected because, protecting your rights will also mean my rights will get protected. And also, if we protect your ability to have different points of view, different perspectives, and so forth, that could ultimately come back to benefit me and make me happier. So, in a certain kind of way, everyone's a tool as far as the utilitarians are concerned. Kant, the moment you turn someone into a means for your own ends, you've stopped being ethical. You stopped being moral. If you look at someone as nothing but just a tool for your own will, for your own purpose, for the working out of history's great inevitable plan or anything like that, then you are doing something wrong. You're not doing something right, according to Kant, in that kind of situation. All right, Sean says, I don't idolize Hitler or any dictators. However, I feel that his character was a consequence of ill circumstance. Post World War I Germany was demoralizing, and someone like Hitler was a product of that shame. That's certainly how Hitler spun it. But the thing is that even if he was able to exploit those circumstances did not demand a Hitler. It did not necessitate a Hitler to come out of it. As a matter of fact, say you could look at, say, the ways in which things had been improving in Germany. Economically, things were, say, shaky or bad, but say things were becoming, becoming more democratic in Germany in a way that it hadn't in the government than it ever had before. Let's not forget that Hitler was voted into power. That's an irony everyone likes to pull up. But even if, say, the circumstances made it easier for Hitler to attain power because he was able to exploit the shame that people felt. And by the way, say it was a shame that kind of like became more articulate, where they want to say, well, why is everything like this? Well, who can I blame? Do I blame Germany? Do I blame the generals that pressed for the war? Do I blame say my country that got me into this war to begin with? Oh no. That hurts my national pride. Better to blame foreign influences. Better to blame communists. Better to blame people who never seem to quite fit in to begin with, no matter how much we let them fit in for our own purposes hitherto. So, Jews, gypsies, other foreigners, homosexuals, say all those people. Look, they're the reason. They're the reason. So we can understand why Hitler was able to take power, but we don't have to excuse why Hitler was able to take power. He is not just the product of his circumstance. He is an active exploiter of his circumstance. Hitler was not just carried into power. Hitler was able to adapt the situation to his own plans enough to help get him into power. It's a collaboration between the two things. And even if, say, Hitler never sought power for himself, but people threw him into power, that still does not excuse them doing that. That still does not excuse what happened. Even if we understand what the circumstances was, that does not excuse what they did. Similarly, you talk about, say, why keep people enslaved here in America? You have to understand, say, what people would lose economically if they were to give up their slaves. It'd be tough, but it'd be the right thing to do. The wrong thing to do would be to keep your slaves simply for economic expediency. Because here's the thing, folks: we don't know what could have happened if, say, the slaves were freed and, say, maybe a whole new economic situation came out of it. A whole new situation where maybe we have a much more dynamic kind of even agricultural system in the South. Because maybe we have, say, a lot more, say, kind of like open competition for farming instead of, say, all the power and influence and money being concentrated on these big slave owning families. Say, when they talk about, say, the economic, say, fragility of the South, they're primarily talking about the fragility of how it would be for these handful of big slave owning families. Just like when they talk about, say, why people should, older people should be willing to die for the economy here, because they don't stand to lose anything themselves except their own money. Say, if they don't get things back roaring the way it was prior to the COVID-19 virus. So, you got to be careful. Got to be careful, say, of how, say, kind of these reconsiderations can make it seem like, that we should not hold up, say, even people from the past to a certain kind of standard, because I think we can. And I talked about this at the beginning of the ethics course. That we can excuse certain things. Maybe they didn't. That it was just. They didn't have the kind of like the concepts yet to understand certain kinds of things. But say they had enough. They had enough for the most part. Say, and I don't know why, say, cruelty has to change its shape so radically from the way that it was in ancient Rome to the way that it is now. It's certainly not something that everyone accepted even then. It's not like, as a cultural relativists assume, let's say, that there is some kind of homogenous understanding of what is right and wrong. Say there were people who found, say, the gladiators, the treatment of slaves and gladiators, say, to be reprehensible, then for the same reasons we do now. Sean says, I agree his rationale for his actions were not justified and were manipulative, but much like how the Japanese felt, the reputation of their national identity was threatened. The reputation of their national identity, coupled with the kind of sense that their national identity entailed their manifest right to go into other areas and expand, to go into Manchuria, to go into China, to go into Vietnam and other areas, because they said we don't want to be so dependent upon, say, other powers for natural resources. Therefore, let us go into other countries and subjugate them and take their resources. And, killing off as many people as we can will be very, very helpful for our own plans for colonization. Making as many people as we can drug addicts in China and Manchuria will be very, very helpful for population control. So it's not a good thing when a person's national identity is threatened, but it often has mixed motivations and often falls apart when you understand, say, what their idea of their national identity is. Now, of course, that's not true for everyone in Japan. That's certainly true for the ruling officer class in Japan. The people who have real power there, rather than the emperor. Well, the emperor was very happy to go along with it up to a point. Yeah. Yeah, just like here in the United States, where we say that our destiny, our identity is cut up with our destiny. And while good things came out of, say, the way in which we manifested that destiny, certainly for our country as a strong country, we could have gone about it a different way. It would have taken longer, it could have taken slower, but it could still have happened differently. Not impossible. Watch out for people who make the argument that because things worked out as they did from the past to the present, that's the only way it could have possibly worked out, or the only way it could have possibly worked out for the best or the easiest way or anything like that. First of all, we could never know. We can never know because we can never turn back the clock and experiment on it. But just in terms of the logics of it, there is nothing to determine that was the only way in which things could have worked out, or even the best or the easiest way. The only thing you can say is that's how things worked out. That's it. Things can always go differently. Things could always work out differently, work out better, work out worse. Whatever works out now, even if it's not perfect, it could have worked. It could have been done better. There are always possibilities that these things could have happened. Well, who's determined to say which of those are going to be probable or not? Say those are the questions that plague historians. But again, we will never know how they would have actually worked out or not. Okay. All right. So hope you don't mind me rambling on as I have about, say, history and so forth. Hopefully, it's kind of like to the point of what we've been talking about. So, anyone else? Anyone else have any questions? Thank you, by the way, Sean, for bringing up a very important and stimulating topic. Okay. And I appreciate your thoughts too. Thank you very much, Sean. Yeah, it's never. It's history. I love history, and it's a very kind of um, it's always going to kind of like reward you in its complexity, but also kind of like not not pay you off in the way that you hoped, where you hope to kind of like get the answer, say why it had to have been that way, or why it didn't have to be somewhere else. Hello, Alex. I hope things are going all right for you as well. Things are going better for me. Better. I had a very rough week. I'm finally kind of like getting back into the saddle again, and I hope to run that through to the end of the semester, because we just got a little less than a month to go until we're done, and you guys will be able to enjoy a little break. Will anyone be taking summer courses? Are summer courses even being offered right now? I think they are, but I think they're all going to be remote education courses. Has anyone signed up for anything for the summer? Oh, and how are you doing, Alex? In case I didn't ask that, how are you doing? Aha, Gabriel is taking Spanish class for summer. And what kind of Spanish class is it? I had a friend who used to be a student of mine, and he recently did a class. He speaks Spanish anyway, but it's kind of like it was a Spanish class for Spanish speakers, where you kind of like are delving deeper into the language and whatnot. Um, Accounting ethics. Ooh, accounting ethics. I are you I can't remember. I think you might have told me this, Tim, already. Say, are you getting a accounting credential? Because that does sound like something you would want to get if you want to go into accounting. It was when I was in Fullerton College that I finally decided to go into philosophy after trying many different things like film studies, art history, and literature studies. Spanish class for Spanish speakers. Okay, yeah. Well, that's what my friend took. That's what my friend who's a former student. He's got a very interesting job. He's a knight over at medieval times. Unfortunately, he's been literally out of the saddle for well over a month now, and he hates it. He's a very active guy, and he just can't stand the situation right now. Let's see here. Alex says I was going to take courses for the summer online, but I'm just going to try to just doing well. Just hard to stay focused. Yeah, it is very 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 hard because without you lose so much, don't you? Not being in a classroom and having some weirdo like me walking up and down in front of you, gesticulating and talking loudly. You know, it at least keeps you awake for the most part. Tim says he's going to go for a bachelor's in accounting. Excellent, excellent. I like that. Say that a capable person will be out there managing, say, things for people like me who can't say add up numbers correctly. So good for you, Tim. Say we need you. When you talk about say essential services, that's an essential service. Alex says, I'm also fascinated with history. I'm planning on doubling majoring in philosophy and history. Ooh, that's excellent. That's excellent. There's certainly there's also some very interesting blendings of that as well. There's a very stimulating philosophy of history topic. So there's history of philosophy, but there's also the philosophy of history, and one of the major figures in it. Say philosophers have always been interested in past philosophers and also in history, but it wasn't until Hegel that we really kind of like um, getting the say the idea of history itself having a kind of philosophical element to it developed as a important topic for the discipline. But ever since Hegel, there have been some really really interesting and important philosophers of history like R.G. Collingwood, Benedetto Croce, Isaiah Berlin, many interesting people. Marx himself was also kind of like a philosopher of history in a way. Um, Now, I do have to say, I'm glad you're doing a double major of history and philosophy because philosophy majors right now are going through a very, very, very tough time. Say, funding for departments are constantly shrinking, very few departments are growing, and that makes life very competitive for a philosophy grad student. So, if you're not looking to go into grad school, that's fine. But if you are looking to go into grad school, maybe still as a double major, doing say philosophy over history as a major for grad school, just be warned, it's tough out there. And I'll talk more about this because everyone has a tough experience going through grad school for the most part if you do philosophy, but I had it tougher than most for several reasons, and I want to kind of like go into that as to things that could happen to you. So I kind of want to get you guys a little prepared for that. Okay. Yes, I agree, Tim. That is very interesting. Nope, no jobs being taught remotely this summer, Kenneth. I'm going to be unemployed during the summer. I hope to get some kind of job over the summer, maybe in retail, uh, say working in a restaurant, something. They have to have the restaurants opened up anyway. And, I can make pizzas. I can make pizzas and send them out to be delivered. I've done that before. So we'll see. So I've got no work coming up this summer. So I need to kind of like stay on the ball in terms of kind of like getting philosophy work done, getting other writing projects done, as well as kind of keeping the money coming in. Okay, all right. So looks like we've got 10 minutes left. I have to go quickly take a bathroom break. I will be right back. Okay. Okay, I am back. Sorry about that. All right. Well, let's see here. We should be wrapping things up soon, but we still got 10 minutes, and that is enough time to like do questions and do responses and whatnot. Ooh, Alex is that. My biggest issue and strength is my interest. If I'm interested, I produce my best work, and it's super easy for me to write or do whatever is necessary. But if not, I can't do anything. It's like that for me too, Alex. Especially as I got older, it became harder and harder for me to kind of like switch focus from one topic to another. Getting through my bachelor's degree was very difficult because I had to do a lot of courses that I just thought that I was past. I was I'm past thinking about say these kind of things. I want to focus exclusively on what I've developed very strong interest about. So it can be it can really push you forward, yes, in those things that you already have a very developed kind of like appreciation for, but it can also slow you down too if you let it. So yeah, interest can be a good driving thing, but if you let it take control too much, it can have a negative effect as well. Sean says, I personally value philosophy as a field of study and as a concept of learning. Others don't prescribe any value at all. What do you think will be the consequence if philosophy ceases to be taught? That's a very good question. The annoying answer is can philosophy be taught anyway? This is a question that goes all the way back to Plato. So, do, do philosophers ever actually teach philosophy, or is that say something that you would have to entirely do on your own? Well, let's say that we're talking about say making concepts, making ideas, making arguments available that might not be so might not be so uh, might not be so available if no one was around to teach them. I do think that there would be kind of like I don't think that say I don't think speculation will go away. I don't think philosophy will go away. But I do think that say that the kind of ways in which you can better do philosophy on your own will become harder. I think that say that you know it's not going to stop people from thinking. It's not going to stop people from asking questions. But without a kind of community of people checking each other's work, as a classroom is a community, and without, say, a community of people kind of like giving each other, say, insights, ideas, points of view that they did not come up with on their own, then it's just going to get harder. Everything will kind of be too reliant upon, say, what an individual person will be able to accomplish on their own, through their own studies, through their own efforts. And while you can still get some good stuff out of it, much like in the sciences, you work stronger when you work together. So I think philosophy would slow down, but it wouldn't go away. I think it would become more difficult and more esoteric. It'd be kind of like it would actually be kind of like learning, say, like an occult science. It'd be like learning witchcraft. You have to apprentice yourself to a witch or a wizard or something like that. And that's in some ways that's good, but I believe to say that these things should be as broadly available as possible. I don't like the idea of it suddenly becoming something that only an exclusive number of people are able to do or have access to. Say, I don't believe I'm not an elitist in that regard. I don't believe in something being good because it is exclusive and can be available only to the few. I think it should be available to the many, just like science to the many. Okay. All right. Um, I don't know if we're going to go pass or no pass, but the flyer about withdrawing mentions us getting con- uh, contact contacted about how to elect for pass or no pass. Let me see if I can find the flyer link. Thank you for doing that, Tim. Yeah, that should be going out. I should be sending that as well. We could become the victim of same thing, yes, because it would be more difficult to kind of like for each person to have the tools needed to check their own work, to check and see whether they are following along, say, a person for the right reasons, whether they are, because the way the mind works, not everything works on us for logical reasons. Oftentimes it's just emotional ones, and sometimes it's just because it feels like there was some sort of like logical reason or necessity behind it, when in fact there wasn't. Apart from how it kind of like just sort of like stimulate us to think, yeah, that's true. So yeah, then we could become more susceptible to groupthink because we would lack the kind of like the individual powers of checking to see whether we're coming to the right conclusions or not, or checking to see whether people are making the right arguments or not, checking to see say whether we are kind of like doing things for the right reasons or not. So I quite agree with that. Before it's too late, the movie I recommended today, which I'm going to see today, is called Extraction with Chris Hemsworth in on Netflix. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I've heard about this. I think I've heard about this movie. Yeah, see if you can pull up that link, Alex. Oh, Alex, Beta. I'm sorry that I missed your question up there. Do you think we're going to pass no pass grades for this semester? It looks like that's what we're doing. It looks like we're doing pass no pass for the semester. That was my understanding that I got from being in the faculty senate meeting last Thursday. Is that we're doing pass no pass, which I think has a lot of advantages for each student. How that is going to work out in terms of transcripts, like your grade point average and whatnot, I don't. But I do know this and say that a college that you're applying to, a university you're applying to, should not be prejudicial against you because they see that you have a P there. They saw that you have a P, that means that you did enough to pass the class, and that's pretty much what they're looking for. Say grade point averages. Grade point averages are really not, say, for some cases, not all that important. But unless you want to like get in like a top Ivy League university, which are really sometimes not that good to begin with. Um, they just have big reputations with nothing behind them. Okay. I hope you continue to do well in the future, and I hope you do well too, Sean. I hope you're doing okay. I hope you're safe. I know that you had a pretty bad accident not too long ago. So I hope you're doing all right as well. Hope you're continuing to recover. And thank you very much for coming into the stream, the chat stream. You gotta go. See you next week. See you next week too, Gabriel. Yeah. I will try. Yeah, unless I have another nervous collapse, I will try to have this going up on Tuesday as well. This live stream chat, say from 12 to 3. Okay. If I don't see you Tuesday, I certainly will be seeing you on Friday. Okay, so be seeing you. Hope everyone is well. Oh, that's right. Say Tim says he's trying to get the flyer link. I'll keep this going for a little bit longer so that Tim can pull up the link for the flyer. So we can post that and make that available. Okay, so I'll just keep this thing running until Tim is able to do that. Then I'll close the stream. Okay, keep in line. Okay. Hope you feel better and up for another live stream next week. Hope you and your family stay healthy and safe.
but I have to go. All right, bye bye, Alex. Good to see you. Thank you very, very much. I hope that your family is doing well as well and that you are thriving. All right, take care of yourself. All right, bye bye and stay safe. Okay, so I'm keeping this up because it looks like Alex was trying to get Tim was trying to get a link for Alexandria. I'll keep this going a little bit. I sent the link up a few messages. Do you mean you sent you Tim? Do you mean that you sent the link by email, or did you post the link in the chat? Because I'm not seeing it in the chat. Oh, okay. So Tim, you already made the link available to Alexandria. I I guess you did. So you have a good day. You have a good time and good day too, Tim. Thank you very much for doing that. That's wonderful of you. All right. Well done, and I'll see you all later. All right. Be safe. Be seen. Bye bye.